So hello everyone, welcome back to one of another fresh and engaging episode of Grow with Anshuman. And today, I have someone very special with me, one of my new friend, Mr. Louis with me, whom I have met few days back only, but I'm really excited to have and talk. But one disclaimer before starting this video. If you're just watching this video for thinking or maybe for superficial level, so this video might not be relevant for you. I'm sure we're gonna have a deep talk on various things of the life lessons or whatsoever we can bring the value towards you. So we're gonna talk that. So Mr. Luis, welcome to the podcast.
Okay, thank you so much, Anshuman, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. Um, so, well, for the people, I would say that my name is Luis. I'm from Mexico. I just met you and and on a website dedicated to speaking English, right?
Yeah.
And it was I felt a deep connection with you, my friend, because I would say that you were a very articulate person. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your compliment. However, I would just like to double down on the website because now people would be thinking what the website is. A lot of people started using that website in India that is none of other than Episodein, wherein people can connect across the globe. And I was exploring that website a few days back, and fortunately I met Louis. And you mentioned something about deep connection, so would like to know your thought that how someone can connect deeply because Louis, this is the very first and foremost question I have in my mind while I talk with the people. Since I have been into this profession of doing podcasts, I am very curious about to learn more about the people. I have this question always in my mind that how sometimes I feel very solo connection with the people while talking. At the other hand, like you, we have been chatted for maybe half an hour, even less than that. But I felt a very deeper connection. So according to you, how people can be go deeper into the thought and can make actual the connection with the people, maybe in very less time.
Yeah, I would say that the most fundamental part of making a connection with someone is the attitude that you are just uh, you decide to carry the conversation or the interaction with that person because your attitude will determine a big part of your interaction with people. And I would say that when you come to n- to know a new person with an open-minded attitude, you are willing to learn from anyone, and at the same time, you are willing to share your experience and your ideas with the people that is in front of you, and I would say that's a very uh, deep way to connect with people. And I would say that this has happened to me a lot of times where uh, I feel the energies. I don't know if you can relate to this, but you can like feel the energies, the frequencies of the people. And maybe that's one of the reasons that you can click with someone.
Got it. So do you think it could artificially being created or maybe, somehow we can generate this energy or maybe you talked about the thing of attitude. Can someone build this attitude or how someone can know, do I have this attitude to connect with the people better so that their life improves drastically? Because I believe we are a human individual and if we can connect better, we can actually understand others better and somewhere it leads to have a good conversation and definitely we can make our life more easier and happier if we can connect better. So in short, how someone can develop that
Yes.
attitude.
Well, I would say this is funny, okay? Because I would say that I'm not qualified for giving advice to people because
Hmm.
each one of us is unique and different. But in my experience, what I try to do is to get to speak to people with a lot of confidence, but at the same time to be humble enough because that person can teach you something that you don't know. And if you um get to know people with that mentality, everything will be come like a second nature to you. It's just a matter of being open to different kind of possibilities. But I would say that every aspect of human body or psychology can be trained. Whether it is charisma, whether it is your attitude, whether it is your intelligence, I would say that you can train every aspect of yourself with enough time and practice, but I'm convinced of that.
Correct. So obviously gave the answer is attitude can be learned. It's just a matter of time and right intent. You'll have to go to the time, right? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Because when I first started to try to speak with people in
Mm-hmm.
English, for example, it was a really struggle for me. And I was not able to handle conversations. I mean, I didn't start speaking like this. It was through an a tedious process of practicing every single day. But I would say that the more you practice something, the more confident you become in yourself and in your skills. And that gives you a confidence boost to allow you to grow as a human being. Because it's not only in this case, it's not only about speaking in English, for example, it's about growing as a human being because you are training yourself to become smarter, more articulate, more competent in your speech. And that's one of the biggest um, things that you can train about yourself, you know? Yeah.
Got it. Got it. You really highlighted, Luis, a very good point. And this is one of the most often asked question to me as an communicational consultant is tell me, Anshuman, how do I develop confidence in general? It's not only about speaking. And I got a very sudden thing when someone says that I'm very good at speaking English. That really sort of gave me a confidence in general to communicate with the people because that sort of came by repetition. And that's something you also highlighted. So tell me, Luis, from your own experience, what and all other aspect or the areas of life you have trained yourself? Maybe physically you go to gym, or maybe you do something which is being very repetitional over the time. But once you crack it, once you get better at this, you felt confident, and that's where gave you overall boost in your communication, in your personality. Do you feel so? Or maybe you can highlight one of the aspect of your life to accept communication or maybe English.
Okay. Yeah, sure. One of the things I like to do the most is swimming.
Mm-hmm.
And this is related to training your physical aspect. And it's a very important thing because when your body and your mind work as a one, it just allows you to get into another dimension of your work ethic, for example, or you get to know yourself more because you're connecting with your body and with your mind at the same time. So I would say that when you train uh your your
Body.
physical
Yeah, yeah,
body, yeah, it's a very fundamental part of being healthy.
correct.
And there's a lot of science nowadays that talk about how you release different kinds of molecules that allow you to improve your health, like endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and lots of different compounds. And I would say that this is a very important thing that nowadays is very I mean misunderstood because people sometimes train to get the attention of others. But I would say that at the end of the day, you do it for yourself and to help your physical well-being. Um, well, yeah, that's something I like. And you told me like how to develop confidence or yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Again, I would say that I'm not qualified to giving advice to all the people, but in my experience, it's the fundamental part of getting confident in something is that you have to fail. You have to fail. There is no easy way out. There are no shortcuts. You have to fail because failure is, I would say that the same part of success, but you look at it like an opposite thing. It's like you have two sides of the same coin failure and success are the same thing, but you have to experience that in order to challenge yourself and you can improve and you can achieve your goals. When you fail, I like to view failure as a learning experience rather than failure because it allows you to get feedback about what you did. And if you learn from that feedback, your next step can be readjusted. Your tools, your communication, your steps, your plans, everything can be uh, readjusted in order to get what you want. If you're willing to be humble enough and to ask the right kind of questions, like, what did I do wrong in this? Or I think this applies in everything, in relationships, in your work, in your with your friendships, with your family. We all play a role in what happens to us.
True, my friend. I could pretty much resonate with this thought. And I even remember a quote about success or about this being good at the life is something goes like failure or the success is nothing but a path what a man do from failure to failure without losing the enthusiasm. So, and you pretty much articulated in a very well manner that it's two sides of a same coin. Some of the time you see failure as an boss, what did happen with me wrong? But at the same time, you could just see it in a way that what did I do wrong or what could I do better so that I can actually readjust the situation in some ways for the next time I could better the results, right? So I believe that's where repetition comes in the picture because maybe you could do the same thing for the first time. It would be really devastating for everyone. It's not for me and you. If we would have just opened our mouth for a single time, maybe we would not able to articulate a single word. And I do remember my own example. I have quoted it very often that back in college days, while I was supposed to introduce myself, I wasn't able to. So the first day will always look like that. If it is not looking like that, so there is some problem. Absolutely. You have some problem because you might have got something directly given by God. So people would see in different way. They can never relate with you. But if you're a normal person like us, you will have to go with repetition. And once you go with that, first time, two, second time, 30 time, 100 time, 500 time, 1,000 time, believe me, if we'll do the same thing as you did. I also did in terms of communication, bettering at articulation. Swimming, you also train your body in the same way playing a guitar, whatever you do, if you go with certain repetition, while you break that barrier of cannot do to yes, I can actually achieve, that's where the confidence comes. That's my
Yeah,
thought, right?
I completely I feel you. I mean, I completely agree with what you just said because failure allows you to accumulate experience and it's life experience and that you cannot get anywhere. You cannot ask artificial intelligence to get to know that, you know? Yeah.
Correct. And you mentioned something, Loish, which really caught my attention, is nowadays people are doing something for just to get an attention. So let's suppose if I'm creating a content, there might be two aspects of it. First is I want visibility out of people. I want to be famous enough. I wanted to be a known personality about the social media stuff. So that's why I'm creating content. And second person, I do have a general curiosity to talk with the people as I have and wanted to put something valuable out of that. Both of the situation, I'm doing the same task. But according to you, what really differs from person one to person two? And what is the long-term change people see in them while they proceed with two different thoughts? The first one is different from the wanted to see others. Second was from internal pressure to explore more, to talk and connect more with the people. Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty good question. I would say that um we all are vulnerable to external validation. And I think that one of the basic needs of every human being is attention, to get attention. It's a very human emotion and need that we just do when we were children, because we wanted to get the attention of our parents, for example. And that's something natural.
True.
But when you can become a slave of this external validation because when in the moment that you start doing things for to get this attention, for example, you are no longer enjoying what you do because of for the sake of this activity, but instead because of getting the validation of people, and that could be a deadly trap because it could damage your self-esteem, for example. And I have close friends who, for example, started to go to the gym. And the first 3 months, they noticed very uh, remarkable changes in their bodies. Okay, and that was great. But in the next 3 months after that, they started to upload photos about themselves. And with that came a lot of attention. Unfortunately, they started to crave this attention. And I would say that that damaged a part of their self-esteem because they no longer did it for the sake of their physical health, but instead for this uh, validation seeking habit, you know? That's what I meant.
Got it. So somewhere it would reduce the chance of getting better over the period of time, because if you won't get that result, you would quit, right? Because now you want people to react in a way how you want to just be reactor, right? So that's where something, and I believe I have heard this thing somewhere. It might be logically true as well. If you do something for external validation, let's suppose for getting other people to verify you, then you kind of lose the essence of achieving it, because you did something, maybe it has happened or not, but you got the validation. Now the kick has gone. Though you haven't achieved the purpose, but you kind of felt that you have achieved. And that's what even has it is actually been happening while we look for short term of gain or maybe short term entertainment. Let's suppose there is time where we tends to do doom scrolling. What we are getting out of that, it just saw dopamine, and we are feeling that we are getting some sensational change. We are getting happy for the shorter period of time. I believe yes, it's good. For me, maybe some people perceive it that I'm getting information in a very short span of time. But what is destroying the long-term growth to actually see the essence of the information why we are consuming, right? What's your take on that?
Um, oh my God.
Am I making
That's
it difficult for you?
that's a good question. Can you try to formulate, I mean, yeah, can you try to formulate the question again?
Sure. So if we do these things for the external validation before even achieving that, if it has already been validated from other people, do we get really lose the essence of doing those things? For example, as I've given you, maybe you gave a very good example of the people, right? Even though you're not being, having said that, coming in a very good shape, but the friend from whom you were expecting the things, you got the compliment. And you felt, oh my God, I think I have achieved this. Why would I go do it for longer things? Or maybe from the psychological thing, because we are being craved from other people that the hormones has already been, released, that it's no longer pushing us to do the same repetition. Do you think it is being contextually true in your case, or you might have seen the examples around?
Um, I would say that
That's
because this has happened to me as well.
okay.
I'm not like I'm also vulnerable to this kind of behaviors, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that yes, it really damages the way the reasons you started doing your things, uh, whether it is working on your goals or um, training your body, for example. If you depend on the external validation of your friends or your family, you will, I would say that you will become a slave to their validation. And in the moment they will not give it to you, you will feel bad about yourself. But I would say that if you train yourself to feel comfortable with what you're doing, regardless of the attention that you're receiving, um, you're you're fine. You will do fine because you depend on yourself. And I think that's something much more important because, in my opinion, the only person that you are always talking to is yourself. And it should be good that you have a good internal dialogue with yourself, you know? It's a very good thing. Yeah.
I think this would also be a part of the mind training, what essentially we train our body in a some way. We wanted to get better at that, which essentially can be shown physically. That's why people train their body very hard. They go to gym, they do a lot of exercise like us because they can see the progress. But what do you think about the mind training? That do we essentially need to train our mind to behave in such a function? Maybe this would reflect to not being driven by other external motivations. It may be a part of that too. If we do train our mind, do you really think it would also give a sense wherein we are not being influenced by other people, other opinions, other thought, and we're not seeking the validation? If yes, then how do we actually need to train our mind?
Okay. I would say that, yeah, definitely we need to train our minds because, um, I will say that there are two problems nowadays, and I've been a victim to this too. Uh, the first one I would say is social media.
Mhm.
And because that just steal a lot of attention from us, you know? And this is a problem because when you want to focus on something else or you want to work on your own projects, you can no longer focus for a really long time. And I would say that that's something you can train with your mind. And one of the things I like to do from time to time is to meditate. Meditation is a fundamental part of training your mind because it allows you to completely forget about anything else and focus your whole attention into a single thing. It could be an external thing, like watching an object, or it could be an internal thing, like feeling your breathing. So that's the first one, and the second one I would say that is like this meditating or reflecting about the things that you did in the past so you can get the lessons of the things that you have lived over your lifetime. I would say that in the moment that you're recalling your memories and you start um, to witness what you did in the past, for example, it's a valuable experience because you can get to know yourself more. And that's, I would say, it's a self-discovery journey that you have to take for a long time.
But it's more about the first part you mentioned is training yourself in a sense. The sense behind is to actually focus on a single thing, right? So that you can actually, I think this is very contextually true because we are being driven by so many things are going around. Though we are sitting here, we are talking, but who knows that what's going inconsciously, in my brain at the back. And though I'm talking, I'm being physically present, I'm putting my efforts. But if we are not trained enough to be actually live in present, our attention has been scattered and people are things driven by attention. Everyone is craving for attention. People wanted to steal your attention. I believe this is also an economy, right? Social media is just making money because they are just grabbing our attention. People are getting attention. They are being paid for YouTube or maybe whatsoever. So attention is an economy. If we're not able to understand the simple thing, definitely we're gonna lose it. We're gonna lose our focus from why do we actually doing the things what needs to be done. Meanwhile, I have a question which might not be very relevant from the talk we did, but I wanted to literally know from you, Luis, that so far from your personal experience of life, what you have figured out that what this life is for, or what may be the basic goal of that. I know this might sound a basic spiritualistic kind of question, but I literally wanted to know your view on this, that how do you see this thing? If I'll ask you that, why do we get
Okay.
this life? Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a very profound question. But to be honest, I was expecting something like that from you. Yeah. So um this is a very profound thing, but I would say that you have I mean, I don't know to call this the meaning of life or the task of your life. I don't know how to call this, but I would say that you have a responsibility in every time of your life. You have a responsibility. Whether it is being uh a good daughter, a good son, a good father, but I mean, I don't have too much life experience because I'm 21. Okay, but I would say we have a responsibility with ourselves, regardless of our families and friends or people that we get to know. We have this accountability, and I would say that you have to have the responsibility to grow as a person. Because in the moment that you take responsibility for your life, you start to getting a little bit more of accountability, and you can start with yourself. And if you're good enough at doing this, you can start, for example, with a pet, like a cat or a dog. And when you get better with this, you can get a family and they can depend on you. So I would say that we all have a certain level of responsibility with ourselves. And then if we are capable of taking care of us, you can elevate the next step, which is taking care of others. That's a fundamental thing. But I would say that this life is for um connecting with people and to appreciate that our time here is limited, you know, because it has happened to me. I have reflected a lot about this issue, but I would say that uh, I know I'm self-aware that I will not live forever, you know, and that really changes your perspective about things because you appreciate things more. And I would say that it's also very important to know how to serve to people, like offering your experience, your knowledge, your advice to your closest ones. Because maybe I see connection with people as a network, you know. You can influence five friends, and those five friends can influence 50 people, you know. So it's like we are all are connected. And I would say that's that's it, you know. Like
Got it.
serving people is a fundamental part.
So being accountable enough, being responsible, and sort of giving help for other individuals and seeing that how much responsibilities you can bear and may probably if you feel satisfied with or being fulfilled with whatever responsibilities you're feeling, then probably you can evaluate or maybe elevate your kind of responsibility. That's the purpose of life. Yeah, that's
What do you,
somewhere. Uh-huh.
what do you think? I mean, I would ask you the same question because it's very profound, you know? What
Yeah.
would you tell me?
I mean, I definitely think about this topic a lot, but I never got on a conclusion wherein I can totally say this is what my take on this of life because this is something what I believe is very subjective on a materialistic level. Obviously, we have an absolute answer for this. Maybe we are not aware. But having said that, this materialistic life has everything very subjective. So for me, definitely one of the ingredient what you mentioned of being fruitful or being helpful to the others is what I believe this life is more about. And I mean that's the major part of that. However, it's also on a spiritual level what I have understood from reading. I think you might have heard about this book called Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. That is a book in our philosophy too. And people used to say it's a spiritual book, but we used to take it as a manual of life, wherein Lord Krishna, I mean, there is a God in our Hindu scriptures, right? Since we are Hindu from our religion, so we uh, used to say that this life is being gotten to pray to God in a such a way so that we don't have to repeat this cycle of birth, rebirth, and other. Because if you'll see in upper label, then you will always get born to somehow, any of the species, maybe as a human, sometimes maybe not as a human, some like snake or bird. It depends on which kind of karma, which kind of work you have profoundly done with in this universe, right? So on the basis of that, you will again get a rebirth. But again, if you'll see that what we are getting in this life or the universe, there's a lot of suffering. We are suffering, right? We are suffering for our own existence, for our own desire, for the attachment, for everything is happening is causing us a suffering. Though we see that we are being happy for temporary time, we got good marks, we got money, we got our friend, family, but it would lead to a suffering. So ultimately, being in this universe will give you suffering. That would lead to you suffering. So the true life or the goal of life is to come out of this suffering. And how we do this is to figure it out. Maybe to preach Lord Krishna, but Srimad Bhagavad Gita definitely give me a uh, kind of answer of that. What I'm figuring out, I'm not ready to accept because I'm too much into this materialistic thing, being a student, starting my career. But absolutely, I from my bottom of my heart do understand and being aware is this is something true. And when I get time, I try to go and see that what is the true meaning of life. So that's why I often try to ask other people like you to what's their experience of their life so that maybe I get different perspective. I get the real meaning of what people think about that.
Yeah, I agree with the suffering part, but I also like to mention that because I have witnessed people who come from the worst scenarios
Hmm.
and yet they prosper. Even if the odds are against them, they can still work on their own things, and they just thrive against the uncertainty. And that's, I would say, one friend of mine who is very, I don't know how to describe him, but he's very mindful about things. He once told me that life is suffering, but even though you can still decide how to respond to that suffering.
Correct. True. I mean, but the fundamental question, Louis, is that why we will have to suffer? Because whatever, if we are doing something, we are leading towards suffering, though it is seems substantial growth for us. But if any of the point of the time it is leading us for a suffering, don't you think there is something missing or we are not able to understand from this world of cosmos? Where is the real and absolute happiness? Or even if I'll ask you, any of the person of the world, that what makes you happy? Maybe I would get something very temporary that makes a person happy for a moment, for a month, maybe if longer. I'm not sure for a whole year who is the one who is being happy for a year. Nobody is there. So if the absolute happiness is there, so what is the real thing that makes us happy for a longer time? And that's where I believe, like, we'll have to figure out the answer, but that's what I understood from the sense of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Though I see now a time, it's already gonna to be more than 40 minutes. And since Zoom gave us 40 minutes limit, we're gonna run out of time within 2, 3 minutes. But I like the chat, man. I mean, we were not able to go much deeper into that because it was into the flow. I would definitely have a lot of questions about happiness, sadness, the profound of life. So probably we'll connect later. But let me know your experience since this was the first time you're being in this kind of circumstance. How did you feel about this or any of the experience? Yeah.
Okay, to be honest with you, I was nervous,
It didn't reflect that
but
way.
yeah, but I like to get out of my comfort zone. So thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. Yeah.
Cool, man. I also love talking to you. I mean, at the first talk we had, that was something I understood that we can have an actually a good talk. And since I feel the real conversation is something what we cannot expect and would happen, that has happened here as well. Would like to chat again and see your different perspective about the things. And I hope that people would definitely gonna like that. If you have learned something from this video or might you have felt something relatable, do make sure to write down in a comment. Make sure to subscribe so that this kind of video won't let you far away. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. See you in the next one.